It's time for a year in review, but this one's going to be a little bit different to normal. I'm going to take you through 3 different sections. One is personal, we're going to start there, and then we're going to dive into the stuff that happened within Tog Spot, but in also 2 different sections. The reason why I'm outside at the moment is because I'm going to start with the personal stuff, and then I can just get over the sad parts and move on. So I'm going to talk about things that happened in 2024, and there's a clue behind me. Most of you guys, especially the members, know the biggest thing I'd say personally that happened in 2024. And that was that we lost Finn. I didn't want this video to be sad, and it's definitely not going to be sad, but this part of it is a little bit sad. So we lost Finn, but Finn's still with me. I've got Finn here. Literally, this is Finn. And he stayed with me throughout the whole thing. We are going to plant a tree and have Finn with us here long term in terms of where I am right now, which is the second biggest thing to happen. So in 2024, I turned 30. I hit the big 3-0. And hitting the big 3-0 was like a monumental moment in my life where I was like, do you know what? I need to sort my out and get my life together. And so instead of worrying about what everybody else thinks all the time, me and Dan together, obviously, bought this place, the place where we're stood right now. I will admit, you know, it's not been plain sailing. So we moved to Scotland and we bought this place because it would mean that we could have tuna at home. And that's the biggest thing. So behind this wall, you can see Tuna on cue. Hey, Puddin'. Tuna now lives at home, which if you're a horse person, I feel like this is the dream just in general. But this for me is the best thing that I think's ever happened. You can also see 2 new faces there. So that's the first 2 of the new faces that I'm hopefully going to show you here. You can see little Connie, who's stood at the back there, and Valia too. Connie is one of this year's foals. So she is a nab stripper foal. And she's out of a mare that you've actually seen already on YouTube before. So if you go back to me roasting my old photos video, you'll see a spotted horse inside that collection. And that spotted horse was Grace. Connie's mum's Grace. So it's really special to have a part of her here at home. She's a nab stripper filly and she's going to be amazing. And then Valia is also out there in the green rug. Valia is a little bit of an unknown one. She's also a nab stripper mare. She's rising 4, and that's my horses at home, so that Tuna wasn't alone. Horses can't live alone. This is her little herd, and they live out here on the hill in Scotland. All right, there's a lot of new things going on here. Members know everything because we share it inside the members vault, but I know that a lot of you guys don't know what's been happening, so you won't have had the chance yet to meet little Connie, to see Tuna at home, or see V as well. We lost Finn, we gained Valia and Connie, Tuna came home, we moved to the farm and I turned 30. But there was another big thing that also happened this year, not including horses, not including Finn, and that was that we welcomed Wren. As you can see, the house isn't, you know, 5-star accommodations. And in fact, none of this site is. I'm going to walk to a different spot to talk to you guys about Wren because you guys all saw Wren come home as a puppy. And those of you on Instagram will have also seen some of the series of unfortunate events that happened with Wren this year. Yeah, a snack pot. How about we sit here? Can I sit? So you can... You saw all of that good stuff. And then when we moved up here to the farm, her and Bright used to have absolute zoomies all over the place, and there was a collision with a gate because they ran through a gateway. She collided on this front shoulder with the upstand of the side of a gate. The gate was fully wide open at this stage, and I didn't think she was right after that. She was okay, but not 100%. Long story short, we're not going to go into everything in here, but she ended up actually sustaining a fractured scapula at that point, which was disunited. It didn't want to join back together again. It didn't want to heal, and extensive tendon damage at the front of the shoulder. She also, at the time of looking into those joints to see if there was breaks or anything happening there, she also ended up being diagnosed with early stage elbow dysplasia in the front right elbow, and also bilateral hip dysplasia. So absolute knock for us on that. That was a really bad part of 2024. The original prognosis was not good. The treatment plan was conservative management, which keeping a Malinois in a box, which was her treatment plan for the rest of her life, just wasn't going to work with us. So we were doing lots of soul searching, lots of working out welfare-wise for her mental health and her physical health, what was the best option. There were some dark days in the middle there, where the little crazy carrot. But we ended up going for a second opinion. We found an amazing regenerative therapy place who do stem cell extractions and implantations. So she had her first stem cell pull from her stomach fat, and then she ended up having her first implantation. So she's had implantations in the shoulder, the elbow, and both hips. How many, baby? Good girl, nice one, good choices. And then where that's ended up is she's had her second implantation at the end of November, which was her first X-rays, re-scans, re-ultrasounds, everything, and basically fixed her. So the stem cells fully healed the shoulder, which wouldn't heal. They fully healed the tendon damage that was on the front point of this shoulder that my hand's holding now. They also have rewound, instead of just freezing, probably because she's so young, they've rewound a little bit of the arthritic changes in the elbow joint already, and both hip sockets have improved. So instead of just freezing, which is what we thought it would do, the progression of the arthritic changes in the joints, they've actually rewound it. Oh, thank you, that was straight in my mouth. So we've ended up actually with a more fixed Ren than we started with, thanks to stem cell therapy. And if we hadn't have been kind of backs against a wall with nowhere else to turn, we wouldn't have even found it in the first place. So trust your gut, do the right thing for your pets if you can. Thankfully, it was all covered by her insurance, which is amazing. So Pet Plan insurance is the one we use for most of the dogs, all covered on her insurance. And the vet clinic, Greenside Vets up in Melrose in Scotland, were absolutely phenomenal. So amazing stuff from her. But at the moment, we're just really happy that she's here. So we're going to spend our little winter period together and then see what you want to do. Dan's going to run her, Canicross, and I'll probably just do some home obedience stuff. But we did do scent work, so that we had a goal as part of goal setting to photograph Ren every single week for the entire year, which we did up to the point where physically she was unable to do that and she was visibly in pain. And that was around about June, July time, I think. So we changed the goal because it was not fair from a welfare standpoint, and instead we switched it to scent work. So we trained Ren how to do scent work because it was Ren Bear, because it was a low impact activity that she could get on board with. And so she is trained also in scent work now. So she loves doing her little sniffies, and we've trained her up to just tier 1, level 1 scent work in UK. And that's what we've been doing. Ren, sit. Thank you, good girl. I think that's it for Ren. So in 2024, we also introduced Ren, and then we've had an absolute crazy year of rehab and treatments. And now we're here, and Ren Bear is strong, fit, and able to go and do all normal dog activities, which is a very different place than we were 6 months ago. I think let's head inside. So that's kind of it for me personally, us and Dan. There's massive things happening. We've been spending a whole year doing renovation around normal work, which I'm going to jump into in a second about all of the Tog Spot stuff that's happened. But first of all, I'm just going to go get inside somewhere that's marginally warmer than out here. Strong security, this one. There is truth in that you can make a studio anywhere, even in here, which is an important point to start with, because at the start of 2024, we were still finishing up Studio Bootcamp. Studio Bootcamp ran from like November time in the year before through into the end of January. So we had lots and lots of different students joining us for online Studio Bootcamp, where it was kind of like interactive elements and everybody could join in, do live sessions, so on and so forth, and come together to learn about studio photography. So bootcamp was running at the very start of the year, and then everything else that I'm about to cover off happened somewhat chronologically, although there is some deviations in there as well. In January, if you remember from Run Diaries, which was out on YouTube at the time, we also went to the convention, the Society's convention, where I taught a super class, so a multi-hour practical session, and also a masterclass. I was also here having some prints judged, and it was an amazing year for me, an amazing convention, as they always are, because I also won the Pet Photographer of the Year 2024, the Open Photographer of the Year 2024, and then that shot Abandoned, which was inspired by Finn in the first place ended up being the print that scored and won the International Photographer of the Year for the 20x16 competition with these societies. So it was a fantastic January in general because we had Ren coming in, we had Studio Bootcamp still running, and we did the convention with the classes and also that little cheeky win on the end. So I was made up realistically at that point, somewhat exhausted, but that's a normal life. If you feel like you don't want to miss out on a convention, the convention is happening in just a couple of weeks' time now in London again in England, and I will be teaching another couple of classes there that I think you can still jump onto. So I will drop the links down below. If you're watching this at the time that it was released, go ahead and have a cheeky peek to see if you can join in with that. But this time I'm not bringing any of my own dogs because it's a much longer trip and I'll be flying down. After the convention though, we skip ahead a couple of weeks. We went and did the Guild Awards event, and then it kicked off with the photography show. So the photography show happened in March. Obviously, we just moved house, moved countries, moved everything, our lives up in between those two events happening. And when we jumped into the photography show, we were scrambling around like headless chickens, I would say, is probably a good description of that. The photography show is a fantastic event in general. We usually are there, although in 2025 we are not exhibiting. We don't have a stand. We're not bringing any dogs because Alfie retired from his big events last year. He can't hear me so well anymore when we're working on big stages. Bless him. He's getting older, and because we didn't know the health situation of Ren either when it was time to make a decision on the stand, so we've just left it alone for this year. Following on from that, we headed home. We had a bit of a weird section in the middle because we still had no central heating in the houses here, and we jumped straight into, after that, the first ever MTog retreat. So we ran a retreat, kind of all-inclusive education and accommodation and food and travel and stuff event to the Lake District. So we went to some of my favorite spots to go and shoot. We shot with 20 incredible students with the help of Sophia, and Sophia and Reese came and assisted as well. And it was a really, 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 really good week. And thank goodness the weather was so kind to us. This year we're doing 2 retreats. So we're doing the Scotland retreat in March of 2025 and a direct repeat of the Lakes retreat in April of 2025. So there are a couple of spaces, I think, sitting on a couple of those, but I don't know for sure. So if you're interested in joining us on one of our retreats, then please do drop us an email. Again, I'll put information about that in the description below. After the retreats, it was a very, very, very quick skip, hop and a jump over to Australia. So I went over to teach in Australia as the last part of my international leg. I was with the Pet Photographers Club with Kirsty over there with a group. And again, a similar format to our Lakes retreat. We had such a fun time. Honestly, the group there was just incredible. I still laugh about the antics that we got up to. We shot some beautiful things around Adelaide and the surrounding areas and had a really good time in the Fleurieu Peninsula. Is that how you pronounce that? I've never practiced it out loud. So tell me, Australians, whether I'm getting that right or not. So I came back from Australia and moved straight in to go and meet Connie, technically. So we went and met Connie in Velia. That happened immediately after that. And then obviously the things you guys know about with Ren also started to kick off around about that point. But that wasn't it, because we also went to Click Live. So Click Live was another big event that we attended. We had a lot of classes to work through. I also judged the print comp at that point as well. And we had all of our dogs with us for that event. 2024 was also, just because we mentioned judging there, a judging year. I was judging McJudgerson to all of the places. Well, no, it's not even a we. I did the judging at Click Live, which was print comp, live print judging. And then I also have done digital and physical judging as well for the BIP with qualifications and also the monthly competitions. And then I've also done monthly competitions for the societies, be at the convention doing Judging McJudgerson as well, and also in the judging print review section. So that's going to be a fun thing that's just coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm super nervous for it, but I'm here for it as well. Online though, judged our Tog Awards, of course, and then also slipped along through into another round of judging for the Pet Photographer of the Year competition, and that was a massive one for this year. I've done some sort of more unofficial judging for some different brands and collaborations, including for Vermex and so on and so forth, things like that. And also a boatload of podcasts. Podcast-wise, we've done the BIP again. She Clicks was one that was only just released, but actually was filmed when I was super sick earlier in the year. And then there was also the Photo Biz podcast, and then not a podcast, but actually on their online summit, I did teach a class for Hair of the Dog for their summit, which was released, I think, back end of October. So it's been a really busy year doing lots of different sort of like collaborative things and getting involved with lots of different people. And that I found really enjoyable because I wasn't able to do as much the year before with all of the international travel. We need to move to a different location that's a little bit warmer than here. So let's go. Also in 2024 was a few client shoots. So I didn't do many because I was a bit busy doing other things, but I really would like to mention at least some of them. So we've got Rose with both Solly and with Dougal, which were very special ones up here in Scotland, along with Laura up in Scotland, the Tattersfields up in Scotland, and Jess and Never also up in Scotland. Not in Scotland though, we have to remember the Renhams, which was a fab shoot. A lot of those that I've just mentioned have had behind the scenes or image edits that have been put into the membership as well. Between the client shoots up here, we've also done one-to-one. So there have been 10 in-person one-to-ones and 54 online one-to-ones throughout the year, which also actually included some multi-hour studio online one-to-ones with students who were wanting some input on how their studio setup at home was reflected in the work that they were producing and some tweaks that they could make to improve it. Those ones were really fun. All of them were fun, but those ones were mentally tricky and therefore really fun. In the online world, there's of course this YouTube channel. So on the YouTube channel, it was the best year ever for the lowest number of hate comments that I've received. And a large part of that is because we didn't really upload anything. So you had all of Ren Diaries plus 2 actual YouTube videos, and then the 4 that we were also released as part of Advent. And Advent's probably a good place to switch into the membership because this year has been a year about the membership rather than about anything else, because we haven't released any new online courses, but we did do Advent. So Advent gave the members a resource a day for 24 days of December, as well as a little bonus gift on the 25th. So I'm recording this at the end of Advent after it has concluded, and I can tell you that it was a month that we will always remember here because of the sheer volume of stuff that needed to be done every single day, including Christmas Eve and Christmas Day itself. It was a crazy ride, but if we're looking at just the membership, I'm not going to list off everything, but I will do some of the highlights because the members, all 555 of them, have been exceptional this year, not just in their support of each other, but their support and kindness to me and Dan, especially when I've shared that things haven't been going so well. For example, Ren, Finn, and everything in between. And so for that, members, thank you. I'm not going to get emotional. So we'll move on to the highlights of the members. 2024 was, of course, the first full year inside our new vault with the MTog 2.0. And inside that period of time, there were over 157,000 individual contributions or actions from members inside of that vault space on the internet, which means that you guys spend so much time in there that I probably should be releasing more content than we already are. We've also done 12 certifications. Those are our member level certifications that anybody can go ahead and start a submission for bronze, silver, or gold level certification as an assessment of their current working standard. This is really good for both marketing purposes, but also just for a little bit of a props to self-esteem and self-worth, because that's what I use my first proper certification for as well. So we've done 12 of those throughout the year, and then we've also done 4 Tog Awards quarters. Now I will highlight the fact that this is the final quarter of the Tog Awards at the time of recording this, and the time of release it is still December of 2024, and December 2024 is the final end, the final quarter of the final Tog Awards. So we're not running this again next year. The members all know why. I would like to focus on creating a more positive and collaborative space inside of the vault, so we're actually introducing something new, but we'll come to that in a second, a little bit later on. And as an aside, the last quarter of Tog Awards will complete with finals judging in January, and the final results will be for the final Tog Awards of the final set that we'll do in February of 2025. So goodbye to the Tog Awards, but don't worry, something else is coming. So we've also done 2 goal setting clinics. Now, goal setting clinics happen usually twice per year, and the first one is actually at the end of this week on Sunday for our members to prepare their goals that they would like to do for either the year or shorter term or longer term. It's something that we've done every single year, and it's not something I'm going to be breaking now, and I share with all of the members all of my updates and prompt you to be accountable for your own goals in goal accountability updates. Those happen every single Sunday, and so there's been 52 of those this year too. There's been 24 Q&As because we do a business Q&A and an imaging Q&A live with me on Zoom every single month of every single year. We also record those. Those are posted into the archives, which are now bursting at the seams with hours and hours and hours of Q&As. Usually they last around about 2 hours each, but they can run on to over 3 hours or be cut short to around about an hour and 15 minutes, I think is probably one of our shortest ones, just depending on the volume of questions that need to be asked and answered. These happen bounce around time zones to make sure that we cover at least everybody in normal alive hours, whether you're over on the far side of the US to us here in the UK, or whether you're over on the other side of Australia. So we cover all of those different time zones at some point or other, and we bounce them around. A couple of our members, Amy and Liz, also started what we called the co-working space, which is in the business section of our vault. That happened this year too. So these guys wanted to set up a space where people could be a little bit more collaborative, and instead of a Q&A style, so it's not a question and answer, it's more of a what are you doing to fill your Christmas minis this year, and everybody bounces around their ideas alongside a specific topic. We're going to refine these a little bit further into 2025 to try and provide a little bit more structure and make sure that we're engaging in positive actions only, but it's something that I think will be here to stay. And big thanks to Liz and Amy for taking the reins on that and running it as their own thing. There was also 4 Tog Talk quarters, and why do I never have Tog Talks handy? Hang on a second. Oh, he's a bristly bear. Literally, Dan, every day. Stop it! Tog Talk magazine is our members only magazine. They look like little books. Hopefully, can you see that? If I hide myself, maybe. So we release printed versions of these beasties twice a year, but we do 4 quarters in any one year. And I know that's confusing, but the members understand. And so these are Tog Talk magazines. We've done 4 quarters, which I think is these 2. That's January and last December's in one big book. And then we also have July's, which included April's, and then January's one, which is in print right now, will drop on doorsteps within the following month. Inside Tog Talk magazine, you have all sorts of beautifully graphic design stuff, if I do say so myself, because I love my design, but we also have a lot of member highlights, member spotlights, all of everybody's award successes. And in here, I mean, most of the pages are just basically filled with members saying that they're amazing, as well as some technical articles contributed by Phil, some stuff from me if I want to share some stuff about life and things, and any announcements that we have coming up. I mean, look, it's a cute map of the farm. I mean, what's not to love about this? We've also done 535 deep critiques, which is a lot. I do deep critiques twice per week, record them, release them on a little timescale that just runs consistently. Although this week actually did take a week off for the first time ever, but don't worry, everyone's still submitting and I've got a mountain to do when we return in January. Deep critiques are a chance for members who have deep critique access, because it is strictly limited in space, because I don't have all of the time in the world, unfortunately, to be recording critiques. So people can submit a picture, 1 per month, and then I will critique that to the level and to the topic or whatever it is that they've specifically requested within their submission form. DCs are pivotal in a cornerstone of the membership, but because they're limited in spaces are released probably about 10 once every 6 months or so, and they go in less than a minute, and I'm not exaggerating. It's crazy times when DC spaces become available. That's deep critiques. We also did 62 individual resource releases, of which the vast majority of those are actually above 45 minutes in length, which is terrifying. So if we look forward into 2020, whatever the next year is, 5, it's been a long year, we have to look at what's coming up ahead. So let me put my little bookshelf. And we'll just get into that for a sec. It's not going to be long, I pinky promise. So coming up in 2025, we've got that little bit of co-working and restructure, which is really important. But I also said the Tog Awards was ending. 4 years ago, we used to do monthly challenges, and we're kind of doing the same thing again, but a little bit different with a twist on it, including some little kind of cheeky little deep critique edge to the monthly missions, which are starting tomorrow, basically. So there's a lot coming up inside of 2025, and that section of the vault's going to be a little hive of educational nuggets that I think will help so many people and also give people something to shoot for, because there's going to be topics. I'm going to run it pretty much like the old days, but not quite like the old days, and it's going to be awesome. We also have coming up inside the vault and outside, if I can get my ducks in order, perhaps some little mini courses that'll be released, and hopefully you guys can jump onto them and have an even better time than you already do with the existing online courses. Now, I can't tell you what the mini courses are going to be on, so we're going to just gloss past that really quickly, but I have been planning them for a couple of years and they're going to be epic. We obviously have the things I've mentioned before. We've got the convention, which we're going to be attending. We're going to be attending the Guild Awards event. There's spaces on the workshops on that. There's going to be another one, which I can't talk about right now because it's not been released yet. But that's happening, I think, in like September time. So keep your eyeballs peeled for that on our events page. And then there's the 2 retreats. We've got some mega retreats happening this year. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Apparently there's nothing else coming this year, so I've got nothing else to add. That's the year in review. I'll see you tomorrow for 2025.
2024, that's a wrap.